The 4-Hour Workweek vs. Millionaire Fastlane. Preface: as part of this post, I was dying to include the video of Donny Deutsch MSNBC, The Big Idea interviewing Tim Ferriss. I'm not sure if I saw it live on television or on the web, but if anyone can find it and post it, I'd really appreciate it. It's kind of hilarious how Deutsch, basically, tells Ferriss that he's full of shit. One of the things that I most appreciated in MJ's book was that it seemed to be the first business or motivation book I've read in the past few years that had the balls to be 100% completely honest. It was willing to put out there that get rich quick is possible, yet, at the same time, was willing to say it's not going to just happen because you are thinking about it or manifesting it. The secret, and it's probably not going to happen if you are attempting to accomplish it in 4 hours a week. It's the first book I can remember reading and thinking, this guy is more concerned about helping or telling the truth than he is worried about spinning this in a way that will attract cult-like followers. It really seemed like the sort of advice an actual successful business person would give to his or her children. Now, I have never had the luxury yet of pulling off a 4-hour work week, but, after reading it, I do think it saddled me with some additional guilt baggage that I didn't have before reading it. Now, not only was I not exactly where I wanted to be yet, financially, but I was also working my ass off. This is one of the horrible negative side effects of the whole 4-hour workweek thing. Whereas MJ is saying, sure, you can achieve your goals and eventually freedom, Tim Ferriss seems to be saying, you're a dummy if you have to apply the same sort of blood, sweat, tears and time that virtually every successful business person in history has had to invest. On the other hand, there seem to be some areas where the books or concepts intersect. I'd be curious what others think. And, as a side note, what if you really like your work as much or more than most anything else? What if working seems more attractive than dancing the tango in Prague? Isn't one of the indicators of many successful businessmen that they love their work? It's all about choices, my friend. If you are in debt to your eyeballs and working 40+ hours for the man, you have no choice. If you have your debt under control and have excess income from your business, then you have more choices. 4-hour workweek is another masterful example of sell the results, not the process. Everyone wants to work 4 hours per week, but it takes a lot of work to get to the point where you can do that. I read the first edition of the book and it basically glossed over exactly what you could do to make the kind of money that would allow you to live the lifestyle he proposes. It was completely patronizing how he kept referring to having a business that let you work 4 hours per week as a muse. As if the idea of actually providing value to create an income was almost an afterthought to traveling around the world. His points on time management had value, but I think the average 40 hours per weeker is just going to end up frustrated imaging it's much easier than it really is. Those who are already in a position to work that little are probably just smirking a little at how easy it isn't to create that kind of lifestyle. On a related topic, MJ talks about how it's 180 degrees wrong approach to start with a completely selfish approach or goal. And, after being in my own online business, full-time, for over 7 years now, I found this to be one of the biggest revelations, at least the way he discussed it. I know mentally the right way to do things, and so, ultimately, I don't feel as if the fundamentals of my business are so far off, in the sense that I started with an overall focus on the needs of my niche and each successive product has been created or marketed along the same lines. But, in the day-to-day grind of figuring out the process and the next step, it is far from my concern on any given day the customer's needs. I am usually worried about my needs keeping cash flow flowing today, this month, and it tends to create a vicious cycle of one-off tactical plans, instead of a synthesized whole of a big picture. strategic plan or process. One of the first things I'm doing after reading MJ's book is going back to the beginning and trying to remember the needs of those pesky people that pay my mortgage customers, because I am sure this will have huge positive impact on my short-term and long-term processes and plans. Which brings me back to Mr. Ferriss. He doesn't address the real source of unlimited wealth, affectation and scale. So, proposing that you can selfishly pick virtually any random business, based on making it fit your selfish needs, i.e. I want to work 4 hours per week, and then, further, calling it a muse as if it's your friendly little fairy nymph of wealth, is just off. The goal is exactly the same, freedom, but the suggested means to that goal are vastly different in value and honesty. Imho. To me, the beauty of 4HWW was the completely alternate viewpoint that you don't have to work 16 hours days to have the life you want. Hell, you don't have to do anything that this matrix world tells you that you have to do. Live your life and make it count. Take action and take control of your life and do things because you think it is best, based on work and research instead of what someone tells you or someone you know. Quit making excuses. Your life is yours and you are responsible for it. Always wanted to travel. Travel. It isn't that hard. Can't travel because of work? Find a way to work differently or not work. Quit limiting yourself because you think it is hard. You can pull it off easier than you think. That, to me, was what I got out of Tim. Very powerful stuff. How'd I do on this, Tim? Think I'll send the link to Tim. As for MJ, bought the book but haven't made time to read it yet. Too busy working on the business and not quite ready for it in details. Over the years at this forum and before, I've taken the gist of MJ to be, quit making excuses. Kick ass. Solve a problem and the money will follow. Do something, today. Think big and scale it up. Eat ramen and kick ass. Short-term misery for long-term gain. Don't follow. Lead. How'd I do on this, MJ? Not too good. You've covered about 20 pages, there are over 300 more. From what I got out of it, there are two main differences between the two books. From 4HWW, the way to purchase a Ferrari is to figure out how much it costs monthly and create a small biz that puts out that amount of monthly income. MJ's book says make an incredible amount of money and pay for it using 1 to 3 months' income. Missing out on a lot if that's all you took from MJ's book. The Millionaire Fastlane's most valuable concept is that it involves completely revamping everything you've learned about how to become rich, or more specifically, an enlightenment of how the dream of becoming wealthy can become a reality. It is a wake-up call to everyone who has ever read a millionaire success story and found themselves wishfully thinking it could happen to them, instead of becoming empowered and motivated to write one of their own. As for the 4HWW versus MJ's book, there is absolutely no comparison. They are completely different styles and mindsets, both written from two entirely different perspectives. Being someone that has read them both, I did enjoy parts of the 4HWW, and it is a book that after hearing about it for so long, am happy I finally got around to reading. On the other hand, is a book that I wish every day I had access to when I was a teenager, as it might have put me on a completely different track in life at a much earlier age. The 4HWW is a book that I read once, and will now sit on my bookshelf along with dozens of other business or entrepreneur or investment or mindset books I have read in the past few years. There has been on my coffee table for months now, surrounded by pens, highlighters and post-it notes since the day I bought it. All the best, Mike. Whether the 4HWW has merit or not, author Tim Ferriss seems to be an exceptional entrepreneur. Timothy Ferriss is an American author, entrepreneur, and public speaker. In 2007, he published The 4-Hour Workweek, Escape 9 to 5, Live Anywhere, and Join the New Rich, which was a New York Times and USA Today bestseller. In 2001, at the age of 23, Ferriss founded Brain Quicken, a San Jose-based online company that sells sports nutrition supplements. 567 He sold the company in January 2009 to an unnamed London-based private equity firm. 8 He is now a full-time angel investor and has invested in the following companies: Twitter, Posterous, Daily Burn formerly Gemini, Reputation Defender, Foodsie, Badongo, Rescue Time, and Simple Geo. He also acts as an advisor to StumbleUpon and Shopify. 9 Which he has alluded to in interviews with Kevin Rose are in exchange for equity. He holds the Guinness Book of World Records record for the most consecutive tango spins in 1 minute. 11 Ferris and his dance partner Alicia Monti set the record live on the show Live with Regis and Kelly. 12 Prior to his writing career, Ferris wrote that he became the national champion in the 1999 Yuzhou Sanzhou Chinese Kickboxing Championship through a process of shoving opponents out of the ring. 13 In 2008, he won Wired magazine's Greatest Self-Promoter of All Time prize 14 and was named one of Fast Company's most innovative business people of 2007.15 Ferris has also spoken at the EG Conference. 16 His show Trial by Fire aired on the History Channel in December 2008. In the show, Ferris had 1 week to attempt to learn a skill normally learned over the course of many years, and in the pilot episode he practiced the Japanese art of horseback archery. Year the same. 17 The Aspen Institute named Ferris a 2009 Henry Crown Fellow in March 2009.18 The fellowship is designed to engage the next generation of leaders in the challenge of community-spirited leadership. Ferris was one of 21 individuals from the U.S. named. Before the release of the 4HWW, Ferris was an unknown. 24 He marketed the book heavily through bloggers with whom he created personal relationships. 2425 He has since been praised for this technique. 2426 The book eventually hit #1 on both the New York Times bestseller list and the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. On December 14, 2010, Ferris' second book, The 4-Hour Body, was published by Crown Archetype. The book reached the #1 position in the New York Times bestseller list that week in the hardcover advice and miscellaneous section. 29 Source: In my opinion, problems arise when individuals who are not great entrepreneurs believe that they are, and spend years spinning their wheels. Best regards. I haven't read the yet. Was told I was getting it for my birthday, but it looks like I may have to go ahead and get it on my own. In due time. But I read the 4-Hour Workweek. And I liked it. It's introduced me to nearly every concept I've seen praised on these forums in its own way: leveraging, outsourcing, valuing time, building assets, covering liabilities with assets, strong and effective goal setting, taking action, building systems so you aren't being fruitlessly busy, possibly more. And presented them in a way that quite frankly resonated well with me. Because an idea, tool, or philosophy isn't restricted to the context it was delivered with, the book provides ample opportunity for doorway thinking. To you, starting a business to cover the cost of a vacation or car might seem stupid. To me, that means developing the quickest and most easily profitable businesses can be used to fund bigger venues. If only it was that easy though. Sounds like he is living the fast lane while promoting something else maybe. No doubt an ambitious and talented guy though. Except, the topic of my post was the merit of the 4HWW, not the real or possibly exaggerated claims of TF. I was well aware of TF's claims as well as the non-sycophantic chatter on the other side when I started the thread, but didn't mention it because I didn't see it as relevant. The questions were: 1. Did others find the 4HWW valuable or helpful? 2. What did others think of the interesting or apparent places where 4HWW and Fastlane intersect? But now that you've gotten my attention, the real reason I would not compare the 4HWW favorably to MJ's book has nothing to do with the real or fake success of their respective authors. just one of hundreds of similar thoughtful and rational deconstructions of TF's persona or marketing campaign as it relates to the content of his books. It has everything to do with, does it rise above just motivational rah-rah and provide actionable, valuable information to readers that aren't Tim Ferriss? I'm guessing that your comment is based on my sharing that I am constantly re-evaluating and checking course to ensure that I'm moving towards my still unmet goals. If so, this, in my opinion, is a perfect example of the difference between TF and MJ and the difference in consequences of following their advice. In the 4HWW world, work, struggle and failure are for losers. If you haven't effortlessly become a multi-millionaire, mixed martial arts dancing queen by the time you are 25, all in a straight line, on your first try, in just 4 hours per week, something must be wrong. Bullshit. Based on the link in your signature, you are a young millionaire? Congratulations. I am sure that I could learn much from you. But, as one of the older guys in this forum, someone that's studied success and life for my entire life, I'd be able to pretty confidently predict that, if you haven't yet, you will find yourself faced with struggles or situations that challenge you in ways that make you slightly more humble. If not financial, in some area. It's no reflection on you. Just a universe thing. There are many pieces to the living life successfully puzzle, and one of the more significant ones happens to be, what do you do when you're down? And how do you deal with missteps and failure and those inevitable challenges the universe throws your way? If you truly believe that spinning wheels, by definition, makes you a loser, I sincerely hope that your future remains as simple and problem-free as it appears to have been thus far. More likely, you'll find that these times of wheel spinning and struggle will make you an even smarter, stronger and, ultimately, happier person because you've faced a real challenge and risen to it. Part of the reason for my original post was that I do know what it's like to face struggle and the need to persevere and to invest lots of time and energy and work to overcome those challenges, and I felt as if the 4HWW might have some negative consequences for people in that particular stage of their success journey, because it seems to imply that work, by definition, is a bad thing, and that if you aren't able to ruthlessly know magically in any given situation which of the 1,000 options in front of you happen to be the 20 part of the 80 or 20 equation, something's wrong, because it's so simple and obvious. Happily, I found that link to the TF interview in with Donny Deutsch after rewatching it. I can certainly understand TF's attractiveness as a guru. He's undeniably smooth and well-spoken. I just, personally, don't believe that he's much more than the latest incarnation of smooth, well-spoken gurus that are pitching dreams instead of process. Donny is no slouch. He's built one of the most successful advertising companies, and he's had an avocation of interviewing many of the world's most successful business people about how they did it, and he is evaluating the realistic value of TF's advice to people other than TF, and he, like me, isn't buying it. TF, I have nothing wrong with work ethic, only when it's applied to the wrong things. What if it takes work, mental and physical, to get to the point where you finally figure out what the right things are? TF. 1 hour of critical hard thinking can be worth a month of hard work. Work smart, instead of hard. Wow, that's amazing advice. What if your first 5 or 10 plans developed by critical hard thinking are wrong and the market rejects them? Was all of that time and energy wasted because I wasn't in Thailand winning a dancing competition? Or was it valuable on its own? Hard work and facing challenges are a big part of what makes us fulfilled. One of the more persistent criticisms of TF is related. He focuses on winning, per se, and shortcuts. Not the deeper, more substantial needs or aspects of human nature, such as hard work and challenging one's self to overcome obstacles. He proudly gives examples in his book, like where he gamed the rules to win an MMA battle by drastically dropping to a weight class far below his normal fighting weight, as if it is more important to win than it is to experience the real stuff, pushing yourself to your limits and going beyond them through honest competition and, maybe, still losing. My son is on the HS wrestling team. TF's approach doesn't pass the smell test for me because I would never out of love for my son have him follow the TF approach to his wrestling career. I can't hear myself saying to him, son, it doesn't matter how you get that trophy, it's just about the trophy. All that early morning or late evening training and pain that your wrestling coach is proposing is for losers. Just do whatever it takes to win while you have tons of time to play Call of Duty. Last year, his first year of wrestling as a sophomore, this put him years behind most of his teammates. He won a sum total of 0 matches. It was a steady and horrific stream of loss after loss. My advice to him was, stick it out, work harder, live in the gym and on the road. Study the technical stuff you're doing wrong, and get back on the FNG mat. All of which he did. He's gained 20 pounds of muscle in a year, an immense amount of additional endurance and technical knowledge, and is now consistently winning in a weight class 20 pounds higher than last year, a significantly tougher class. Whether he was winning this year or not, I'd feel pretty good about my advice and the results on him. He now has more confidence that he can overcome failure and difficulty, and he's a stronger, better person. In general. Was this bad advice for him? Should he have just done more critical hard thinking about ways to game the weight classes so that he had more time for Xbox? I doubt it. And, if I wouldn't give that sort of advice to my son, it's probably not advice I'd be following myself. Respectfully, Robert. Robert, it sounds like you already have a notion of taking anything involving Tim Ferriss and disregarding it. I can't say whether it's right or wrong, but it seems silly to ask the question, and just denounce it. If you don't find it helpful, then you read it wrong. Perhaps it's not exactly new information for everyone, but it is good information to follow. That said, are you going to be working 4 hours weeks after reading it? Of course not. It's about building things or taking current things and taking yourself out of the stuff that wastes your time. Yes, you are going to be investing a lot of time, but do it in a way that if you so choose you can take yourself out of it. Not as a starting today, you will only work 4 hours type of deal. He doesn't explicitly state, or make note to clear it up, it'd hurt sales, to describe work. He works a lot, but if he enjoys it, and it isn't the type of work that makes the day drag on assembly line, then it doesn't seem to count as work for him. On the contrary, I think doing that would be an amazing accomplishment. Ultimately, I think this is the crux of why I feel queasy about TF's advice and find MJ's book to be truly insightful. When you marry the goal's freedom mindsets, I don't have to be part of the mediocre, poor, masses and math affectation, scale, magnitude, with the truth that it will also take a ton of work and perseverance. You have something worth pursuing. Once you no longer feel destined for the sidewalk and are using the correct math, you now have a better than zero chance of hitting your goals, material or otherwise. But, the final key to the puzzle, is being willing to trust the math enough to continue to apply it until it goes your way. As MJ says in the book, in business, you only have to be right once to be hugely successful. My guess is, that's assuming there may be lots of times you were wrong. So, not that simple, but absolutely doable. Let us know when you get that car. Hi Bob, I'm not sure why you hate him so much. Just from my perspective, I find that most individuals have something to contribute and I'm willing to listen. I also don't know how you know what Tim would say to your son unless Tim actually said it. Perhaps there is some reflection of your own preconceptions here, but that is neither here nor there. With regards to the ease of success, my comment was more related to elephants trying to swim with the dolphins. Individuals would experience more success the sooner they realized that they were elephants. With regards to my success, it was given to me by life. It would be extreme hubris for me to believe that I can extract more success than my spiritual bank account can allow. I'm eternally grateful. There have been no success, struggles or challenges in life for me, now or in the future. There is just life. All the best. There's a bit of truth in that. I'll admit that I am coming to the question with some opinions already. But, in reality, I was trying to be open about the fact that the reasons I don't love the 4HWW is because, for me, it didn't seem to fit my reality and experience, and I was curious if it was just me. Part and parcel of me advocating a bit for those of us that have to rely on the perseverance part of the equation, is my willingness to admit I could be wrong. So, yeah, I do have my opinions, but I really was curious what others thought. See above. I could have read it wrong. But, I don't think I was wrong to ask questions about its real-world value. Agreed. If you limit its value to the concepts in the book, only. The problem is, like the example of the fat guy leading the weight loss class in MJ's book, as a reader or human, it's hard to not evaluate the advice in the book relative to whether the author actually utilized the advice in the book to achieve what he has. I am not a TF hater. I am of the opinion that I could learn much about the whole Carpe Diem approach to life from him. Say what you will about him, he appears to be an energetic, multi-talented guy that is passionate about life. Kudos to him. The problem is, he's offering advice to others supposedly based on his own experience, and there seems to be some evidence that the realities are far from the PR. He from my perspective appears to be one in a long line of business advice authors that, primarily, made his money from selling a book about how to make money. There are big questions about his claims for the success of his nutritional line and the reality. There are even bigger questions about the way he really achieved a 30 pounds weight loss for his most recent book. And, both are similar in this way: if he lost weight in a way that I couldn't really replicate, would his fitness book be valuable to me? If he made his money really in ways that are different than outlined in his book, would his business advice be valuable to me? If anyone thinks I hate TF, let me correct you, I don't. I am sure that there is much I could learn from him. I really was just asking if anyone else had experienced the negative 4HWW effects that I had. Ambiguous guilt that I wasn't only working 4 hours per week. That's a fair statement. TF has not actually given my son any wrestling advice, and I could be wrong about what he would actually say. But isn't it fair of me to assume that he'd suggest to my son that he do what TF did? Assuming you are putting yourself in the elephant's category here, welcome fellow elephant. I wholeheartedly agree, and, in a way, is what I think I'm saying. By all objective standards, TF is a dolphin. That's a good thing, right? And, maybe for that reason, this elephant isn't finding his advice about jumping through flaming hoops to be super attractive, being an elephant and all. Is this a bigger reflection on me than TF? Sure. Obviously. Nice quote, especially the "there is just life" part. I know that one of my personal weaknesses is letting the struggles and challenges rise to higher status than I should. I appreciate the thought. I believe both books are great for motivation to get off your ass and do something, but they are not anything alike after that. My take is that 4HWW is a great book for after you have become well versed and successful using MJ's methods. I don't believe you can start a business be working 4 hours a week in the first couple of years. If you do start a business like that, it would be the holy grail. The big difference in the books for me was the Fastlane was chocked full of concepts you can use, whereas 4HWW was a self-promotion of Tim Ferriss with lots of pages telling me what software, websites and services to use to pare down my workload. 4HWW offers a lot of inspiring insights and a little bit of a wake-up call. Does it teach you how to build a great business? Certainly not. Ferriss basically made his money in the early days of dropshipping and with one of the 3 Ps pills: porn, poker, He sold a damn supplement online and was great at online or direct marketing. That's it. The rest is him being an overachiever at all kinds of skill sets, which is great but really won't help you that much if you are looking to build a business. Do you want to learn how he promotes his stuff? Do you want to learn some of his techniques on how to make time and free yourself of some of the mental weight you're carrying around with you? Yes. Do you want to make your money by being yet another guy to join the get-rich-quick and easy online bogus gold rush by selling shit that people don't really need but that they still buy because you can catch them when they're emotionally vulnerable? Well, that's obviously your call. I absolutely love both books. They're written by real entrepreneurs. They emphasize the importance of time, and show that making big money while being young is possible with a good idea and some luck, plus doesn't require working oneself to death. First thing I'm going to start with here is a quick disclaimer: the notion of if only it was that easy looks like a jab. I didn't think so when I wrote it, but it does when I read it, and it's not meant to be. It's more a rhetoric, like, it's easier for me to say this than do it, of course. Actually, replace it with that line, it's perfect. I remember the book coming across as very useful, but certainly leaving me wanting on other aspects of business. It isn't hard to recognize that there will be a lot more to figure out and do before you can set up one or more of these muse businesses, and it'll be up to you to figure out the process for that. To be fair, I don't remember if it suggested other resources to get you started with that or not. I might never drive, but I do have my eye on an outlandish jetpack. I'll be sure to upload a video of my first flight. I'll probably look like a cat plummeting towards a full bathtub in it. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time, and still retain the ability to function. F. Scott Fitzgerald, Handle with Care, Esquire Magazine, March 1936. I read about one chapter of the 4-Hour Workweek and scanned other chapters. This book is terrible. I am in dire straits and reading his bragging made me feel like shit. I just put it down and looked for another book to read. Here is one of those debates that will never be settled depending on which side you look at it from. Personally, I do believe the 4-Hour Workweek is very possibly. Many have gotten the whole concept wrong. What the 4HWW is all about is freedom. Freedom to do the things you like, work whenever, wherever. You don't have to be a multimillionaire to live this kind of lifestyle like many people think. Here is a perfect example. This is a real opportunity, so if you are interested, contact me for full details. See, I'm looking for a super sharp, young C# or VB.net developer, who wants to move to Bali temporarily and work with us on an exciting company. We will be covering all transport and living costs, and you will get to work on a highly successful software platform. It is written in VB.net. However, we realize that C# developers can quickly switch to VB.net, and therefore we also welcome submissions from C# developers. You will get to work together with the team, and have a big opportunity to live the 4-Hour Workweek lifestyle, travel the world, and meet successful entrepreneurs. Put simply, what Timothy Ferriss and the rest who advocate this lifestyle are doing is to try and inform others that there is a better, more enjoyable and simpler way to work. Sounds kind of like spam, but I'll bite. What does the software do? Why would I be interested in working on it? Also, how come you've decided on .NET Framework rather than going with something more portable like Java and still has a GC? Finally, will add my comments to this thread. I agree. If one receives personal value out of either or any book for that matter, does it matter? I believe this is the common undercurrent of the two books. However, both go in radical directions on how to achieve control over your most precious asset, time. Correct. The isn't based upon mathematics. 4HWW is yes, the commandment of time might be your last hurdle. Or respect to Fastlane as it was mine. My 4HWW came after years of hard work. I think this is where the 4HWW gets subverted, and I've had conversations with wannabe entrepreneurs who think they'll make millions outsourcing everything. I could only laugh. No doubt, as I like to say, I tend to watch what the gurus do, not what they say and or preach. Are the good old guru hypocrisy, get rich selling one mathematical equation while leveraging another. Many times. And I'm still wrong today, and will continue to be wrong on many fronts. Learning never stops, as the wisdom that comes from it doesn't not either. Math is the language of the universe. I know if you can impact millions in a monetized structure, you will earn millions. Nothing wrong with selfishness as long as you throw it in the backseat to your entrepreneurial vision. You just discovered that the marketplace doesn't care about your personal motivations, passions, loves, etc. The market is like a needy child, it wants what it wants. The two books are for different systems level. MF is more holistic with mathematical support. 4HWW is anecdotal, more oriented to the philosophy of doing the minimum that could work. The tone is also different. In MF is clear that MJ has work in try to discovering laws using a more scientific approach, based on facts and mathematical reasoning, that he used in to build his Fastlane road. TF is also articulate and successful businessman, but that is my big but. He is Machiavellistic in the result justify any means, for example his championship based on weight less one day before the combat and gaining again weight to push outside his opponent. I learned reading both books, but I'm more in harmony with the MJ vision and philosophy. Other related book is the Robert Greene 50th Law. This is actionable in other level also, but is a very interesting analysis about the new principe and the importance of to be fearless. I found the books to be quite synergistic, and both teach some good stuff. And I think a lot of people miss many points in 4HWW, so that's why it gets some bad rep. I've never felt TF advocates a 4-hour work week as the method, rather he puts it as the eventual goal, so I don't see how this clashes with Fastlane's commandment of time. The biggest thing that I took away from the book is that I need to create something millions of people can use and build it into an asset I can sell someday. I've owned many service-type companies that aren't scalable, as I personally am the asset. It's funny, I figured out this was my problem about a year ago and really started to look into creating majority-affecting products versus time-intensive services that were too niche. After reading MJ's book I was smiling ear to ear, realizing that I definitely am on the right track. I have a whiteboard hanging in my room and the top thing on it now: impact millions. I think everyone here who bashes 4HWW completely misses the point. I loved that book, and love his other book 4 Hour Body. I also love but to compare the two is completely beyond me. 4HWW is not about building a business nor being rich. I think you should reread it if that's what you got out of it. 4HWW is about living the life you want. He preaches the 80 or 20 rule and provides many resources on how to make your life simpler. He does preach a little on being an entrepreneur, but the whole point he's trying to get at is that a lot of people don't want to be millionaires, they just want the freedom that those people have. He talks about wanting to be free to travel the world often, do things you never thought possible with a little research on how to effectively find what you want for cheap or even find some loophole to get it. He mentions his business, how he was working so much he went crazy. Eventually he learned to leverage his business by hiring people to work the issues he was having problems with. I'm pretty sure both books cover leverage fairly well, but Tim covers it on all aspects. From being able to work remotely with specialized programs and technology, to finding dates, to having people plan your vacations. The preaches the long hard road to getting a business going and how to get there, no gimmicks or anything. 4 Hour Work Week is hardly about becoming rich, but enjoying your life more. Plenty of people in that book talk about how they love their job, but they just wanted time to travel more often, spend more time with their family and enjoy the nice things they didn't think they could have. I love Tim Ferriss. I think he did a great job with both his books, but please don't make it out to seem like a business book. I follow his blog pretty often and he has a lot of great info to pass along, and he's definitely great at marketing. He's more about being more carefree with your life than anything. If you like Tim Ferriss, your bullshit detector is very weak. 4HWW can't be compared to MF. They are just too different. However, there's a book that can hedge the differences between the two and show you that 4HWW is in fact possible in a very Fastlane way. I see it like this: MF, Work the System by Sam Carpenter. 4 Work the System is the bridge between the two, and the one book that seriously changed my mindset, more so than MF. I read WTS first, then came across MF, and MF just reinforced with more business sense what I was already trying to accomplish after reading WTS. WTS goes through how the author turned his business around from bankruptcy to multi-million-dollar industry leader, I think, and went from working almost all day to almost nothing at all. So there are areas of overlap between WTS and 4HWW, but 4HWW doesn't go through the process in nearly as much detail as WTS. When I read 4HWW, it was like a much poorer version of WTS. No real guts in it, but had a sliver of truth. Anyways, they all go against mainstream thought, so I'll be keeping them all on my bookshelf. If anyone hasn't read WTS yet, I highly recommend it. But you might need to have a real business to make any use of it. Cheers. Geez. Why all the haters? I love both books and both authors. Their premises are not in conflict. Several other posters including MJ have articulated the primary differences in philosophies. But seriously? What do you perceive as BS? His successes are verifiable, and from my experience, his advice is useful. A summary of my 2 very favorite books in my lifetime of reading of self-help or business books: A View into a Lifestyle Never Imagined by Most, whereby one has time to have experiences he enjoys almost immediately by eliminating a lot of things and being more resourceful with his time using time management principles, outsourcing, telecommuting and passive income creation. A detailed formula with which to build a business that will yield a lifestyle of time and things after a few years of building a business that can either be sold or that will provide passive income, with minimal time required. To my mind, these concepts are not contradictory. At a high level, Tim's advice results in a faster lifestyle change, even though I don't think even Tim would suggest that a 4-hour work week is going to happen next week. MJ's results in a more permanent lifestyle change, including both time and things. Although, either method could produce the same results. Whichever book you prefer largely depends on your life's goals. But for me, all these books are like a big ol' buffet table. Take what works for you. In my own life, I have been able to utilize a lot of 4HWW's principles to buy back more of my time so that I can put into place the formula put forth in MF. For one of many examples, right now I work from home. 4HWW. I subcontract out menial tasks, Excel, PPT, etc. to VAs for $7 or hour, netting me 95% of my contracted rate, and buying back 10-ish hours or WK. 4HWW. This is 10 extra hours I have available to analyze opportunities and projects for, to build brands, etc. MF. I like both books for different reasons. FLM is the best no BS blueprint I've ever seen. Here's the problem with it. People are brainwashed by society to aspire to at best the slow lane. What MJ talks about is so radically different to what they believe that what he preaches is blasphemy to the slow lane religion and is instantly discounted as a scam. While I can see why MJ named the book what he did, I believe it creates a hurdle for the average Joe hearing about it. For HWW on the other hand, while not as ultimately useful as FLM, it at least opens people's eyes to the insanity of spending your entire life working for a couple of weeks a year of traveling or hoping you're well enough to do it when you retire. I agree, Tim completely glosses over business creation and makes it sound easy to create a passive income business muse that affords you the luxury to travel however you want. I also don't think you can underestimate the marketing genius of Tim. Using Google Ads to test his book title was brilliant. He also knows exactly who his audience is and knows what buttons to push to get them to buy books. Compared with most of the absurd financial advice being spouted by posers, I give it a solid B. The 4-hour workweek is great because it teaches you the concept of outsourcing and how to maximize your time. It also introduces concepts like mini retirements and being able to spend more time enjoying yourself. If you have a certain amount of money and you know where to get things done, it makes a lot of sense. Even if you are not working 4 hours a week, let's say you are working 10 or 15, it's still better than draining your soul to build someone else's dream. The is great because it teaches process and wise decision making, which is priceless because our choices create our results. Love conquers all, princess. This is a point I didn't hit, but you are exactly right. People are completely blown away when I tell them I have a girl in Malaysia I pay $3 an hour for repetitive work and I overpay. She's thrilled and she always refers to me as Sir Norm, which is a cultural thing, but hey, I get a kick out of it anyway. Or that I have a lady in Oregon that works from home and is a godsend. She handles all my customer support now and I've never met her, only talked to her a handful of times in the 2 months since she's worked for me, and we're both thrilled with the work arrangement. And then there's which is so awesome for simple tasks. It's such a no-brainer. Absolutely. It just makes sense. I am having to stop myself because I love writing naturally, but there are a ton of people out there that are great at what they do and I can spend maybe 15 minutes editing versus 2 hours writing. Love, princess. Although I appreciate the idea of entrepreneurship, I understand that 4HWW suits my personality. The books are not in conflict, they simply speak to different personalities. Some individuals are hard-working entrepreneurs who can make anything a success. These individuals are talented, intelligent and good at what they do, which is building businesses. I'm lazy. There is absolutely no way I could compete, nor would I want to. I am an investor. I like to identify talented entrepreneurs and hitch my cart to their rising stars. I'm not a great driver, but I can sit in the passenger seat just fine. The more I study business, the better an investor I become. It's all about whose gravy train I can jump on. Best regards. Are you sure his successes are verifiable apart from book launches? Greater than. Are you sure he is working 4-hour work week? He must be working more than 4 hours per week. Looking at the amount of promotion he did with his books, if you carefully follow his launches. You may want to see the following video debate between Donny Deutsch and Tim Ferriss. Donny is no doubt a success and he is actually worth hundreds of millions, while Tim is probably not even a millionaire. Greater than. And while I am at it, there is a reason why Tim Ferriss is a success in. It is because he follows the golden rule of persuasion. According to Blair Warren, persuasion can be summed up in just one sentence. He has said himself that he definitely works more than 4 hours per week because he chooses to. But he has before, and could again. Most people don't have that choice. Seriously? 4HWW alone has been on the bestseller list for over 2 years, it has gone through 40 printings and has been translated into 35 languages. You really don't think he's made $1 million from that? Are you high? He was recently listed as number 13 on a list of top 100 most influential venture capitalists. I'm pretty sure it requires a little money to be a full-time angel investor. Okay. Is there something wrong with this? Where is your animosity coming from? Did he steal your girlfriend before prom? So far I think MJ is saying, do something, many things. Eventually something special will appear. He is trying to explain all the variables in his book. MJ did not grow up thinking he can change the worldwide limo service. He fell upon it as a driver, came up with an idea and ran with it. It happened to have worked for him. It could have gone the other way if one of the elements were missing or out of sequence. But it all fell in place. He re-engineered and documented his thoughts, experiences and processes, and he has a book. Now he's out and about promoting his get-rich concept. Great idea. Here's my thought. You can either take the info for what is and use it for yourself if it works or not, but the information is not the author. Tim does not work 4 hours a week. Hasn't since the book came out. He did, and that worked for him at a point in his life. To Tim's credit, he doesn't go around saying this is what I do today and come to my mega seminar where I will teach you what I do. The second edition of the book was just a minor update that updated some of the resources. Is there some fluff in the 4HWW? No doubt, but to say there is nothing valid in there that could substantially improve people's lives because the author doesn't stay frozen in time is silly. He does seminars. There's a difference between being a speaker at a seminar pushing your book and putting on seminars which cover the same things in the book and try to sell additional crap, which is exactly what Robert Kiyosaki does. If I'm wrong and you can show me a link to an event he's put on, then I stand corrected. The fact that his new book has nothing to do with the 4HWW proves he's moved his attention elsewhere. He does have a 3-day seminar that costs $10,000 to attend. He is not going over methods mentioned in his book at this seminar though. It's about something else. He is selling how to be #1 best-selling author. So, he is how to be. Equals greater than Ferriss is no different from Frank Kern and invented a persona that would appeal to. Having read both books, I think there is useful information in 4HWW. But you have to look beyond the hype. When Ferriss talks about developing a muse, he's talking about a simple business that, in my view, is a baby step toward a Fastlane business. Unless I'm reading him incorrectly, he doesn't claim that the process is easy or guaranteed to work. What he means by a muse is an online retail business that is sustainable without a tremendous deal of direct work by the business owner. He talks about how you need to find a product that meets a need. If it's a product, he discusses how to source it. If it's an information product, he talks about how to produce it. Then there's discussion of how to use Google AdWords to see if there is sufficient interest to take it to the next level. The goal is to have a complete system, source the product, handle transactions, deliver the product, that doesn't require you to individually make the product, go to the post office and ship each order yourself, manage each transaction. For it to be a working muse, you should be the business owner, not the shopkeeper or stock clerk. You don't want to replace your day job with another day job. I think it's useful information. To turn a muse into a Fastlane business, you need to find something of greater scale than the examples given in the book, but the principles are valid. The key is scalability. Also, I want to add that Ferriss' seminar isn't about how to start a business. It's about him explaining how he's managed to put 2 books on top of the bestseller lists. It's about the techniques he used to promote himself and his books. And, love him or hate him, I think he's an expert on that. Both books are great. Anybody who disagrees is narrow-minded. End of story. I read MJ's first and I'm currently reading 4HWW now. Funny thing, I stumbled upon 4HWW as an audiobook and listened to it on a road trip. I am 10 chapters in, and though I feel a lot of the outsourcing he talks about puts your company at risk. MJ talks about never relinquishing control of your business, and I believe him 100%. I still find valuable information in 4HWW, but I'm glad I read Fastlane first. It's hard to give a comparison between the two because it seems like MJ's direction with his book was kind of like a rat race matrix disconnect. He wants you to think for yourself and most importantly act. 4HWW has its points so far and provides a lot of resources to help the Joes out there get the ball rolling. The biggest point they both drive home is to get out there and get something going. My thoughts. I wouldn't consider outsourcing relinquishing control. You are in control of what they do. I like MJ's book better, definitely a better formula. Sent from my Samsung SGHI 997 using TaperTalk. I don't understand why there's always a need to compare things. Both books are different, just apply what you can from each book. I agree that the two books should not be compared. They both represent different notions and ends of a spectrum. It seems as if Mr. Ferris has many accomplishments in many different areas, each of which have the winning end result. He may be implying that we need to take action where we stand, in whatever we may do. Mr. DeMarco, on the other hand, had a large winning result. This is the main difference. Many accomplishments with the end result in mind, or one big accomplishment with execution and procedure in mind. Would you prefer to be a jack of all trades, or an ace? I could be totally incorrect though, to each his own. I knew a post like this would come to pass. The two books are really different from one another. I could go on and on about it, but I think I'll pass on this one as many of you have made the necessary comparisons already. Most people read the 4HWW the wrong way. In fact, many of the people who read the book regularly work 60+ hours or week, and use the material from the book to maximize that time, so that it is spent generating revenue, rather than emailing and doing other worthless tasks that don't add to the bottom line. I'm a big fan of Tim Ferriss, but I never really liked his first book until I realized this. You can't compare to it. Teaches you how to build a successful company, while 4HWW teaches how to maximize your time within that business. I think the Fastlane book has some hints in there that the writer does not really like the philosophy of Tim Ferriss. This is my first comment, so go easy on me. I have read the 4HWW several times and think it's a great book. But I would, because I have spent the last couple of months making the 4HWW possible for me. I have literally scaled down my business and lifestyle to the point where I can literally live off the income of a couple of my websites, using many of the method that TF describes and promotes. I haven't actually looked at the numbers in terms of time yet, but I think I can maintain the sites and traffic with about 2 hours of actual work hours a week. I say that in the context of, on a personal level, I have no opinion of TF as an individual. But I have a huge amount of respect for him because while he links to tools and has entertaining stories and headlines to suck people in my opinion his content is actually about getting you to ask yourself, are you living the quality of life that you actually want for yourself? If not, he tries to offer you alternative things you might find interesting based on his experience and those of others he has come across. That's not to say many of the things he promotes are his own or owned by his friends, much like MJ promoting his book. When I read the book, he didn't seem to say it was going to be an overnight process to follow and you will make easy money. I am pretty sure he says you need to be prepared to fail fast so you don't lose too much time or capital. So, I don't understand why a number of the people who have commented earlier take the view that TF being successful on a 4HWW, but I haven't yet, and I can't see it happening, so he is lying. Seems like an odd way to look at things. Also, TF's book is not just about making money, it's about working out what your goal is and then trying to be objective and asking yourself, am I being efficient in what I am doing to get there? Some people are happy in their jobs so they don't need to build a muse. Some people would rather be at home with the family and traveling. If you are the latter, his book sets off the spark and points you towards the path that is up to you to start exploring and commit to it. I am not out of the woods yet. I still want to grow my business to the point where I feel comfortable and then some, but I thank God, I found this book and have been able to leave the grip of having to work 8 hours a day for 260 days a year. I say that knowing that I took the action. Only one other person out of the at least 10 other people I know to have read the book, have followed though on any of the ideas, and he has had better results than me. In short, I found the book to be very useful. Maybe it just clicks with the way I think about things and the knowledge or experience or mindset I bring to the table. I read his book twice, didn't really get much out of it. There weren't clear instructions or anything like that, most chapters were confusing. Only found a couple pages useful. But I guess his whole model is hate doing things? Then don't do it. Hire some random guy from India for cheap and get them to do all your work. I prefer to 4HWW. It resonated more with me. But here is what I will say about the 4HWW, I have never seen a book successful entrepreneurs have attributed to their success more than the 4HWW. I could name more than 30 successful big hitters online that has attributed a lot of their success or the fire that started it all to the 4HWW. I'm not saying TF isn't full of bullshit or a fraud. I'm not saying 4HWW was not full of fluff. But to say all those big hitters don't know what they are talking about is stretching it too far. So take what you will from this thread, but the 4HWW was a phenomenon. Read this. I have no doubt his methods work, but just saying it's hard to get anything out of the book, maybe if read it another 5 times. But his lifestyle isn't for me anyways, just picked it up because started some passive income ideas, but now am I thinking differently again, just can't make up my mind lol. I think the phenomenon and the success with the 4-hour work week you are speaking about isn't necessarily that it gave people the tools or the house, but it made them aware that there is a possibility to make money online, an alternative to the 9-to-5 rat race. It made them aware of something like the Fastlane. Similarly, how didn't really give you a step-by-step how-to guide but a concept. That's exactly how I view the 4HWW. It was the mentality change it gave people. That a book written 10 years, that's like a century nowadays ago, still creeps up constantly on a forum dedicated to another book speaks volume. So, I've read both of MJ's books and most or all of his posts on here. I also recently read 4HWW and have tooled around on the 4-hour blog a bit. Takeaways: although Ferriss never says it outright, it's pretty obvious that his supplement brand and subsequent liquidation event were the real mojo behind his 4-hour life. While people who still work can enjoy a pale imitation of what he has as a result of a Fastlane enterprise that has matured and been liquidated, their retirements are mini, and when it comes to freedom and autonomy, they're worshipping a false idol. What comes as an optional goal in the middle of the book, to start your own time-independent business, should really be the heart and soul of the book. That's where his freedom came from. 4HWW is a mass-market book, hence the huge sales figures for working stiffs that want to get a bit more freedom in life. It succeeds in that goal. But it doesn't hit all the right notes. If you want to be really free, 4HWW is inimical to your lifestyle. Nobody launching a successful first business works only 4 hours a week on it. If you do, your competition is either going to crush you now or carve you up and devour you later. 4HWW is probably inimical to your advancement in the working world. You'll get more freedom if you're never in the office and always expensing crazy trips, but you're unlikely to move up in the ranks. You have to decide whether it's worth it. It will be for some. It won't be for others. Ultimately, it sells the dream of full-time retirement with part-time work. But full-time retirement can only happen after superhuman effort, both on the part of the creator, and then on the part of your Fastlane. Most of us hire slow. A lot of us should be outsourcing or hiring much sooner to grow faster and not die after the initial burst of popularity. He hits that note hard. He gives straight talk about meetings and emails. Most of them are useless. He sets up liquidation as the goal of business ownership, which is spot on. Ultimately, I wouldn't class him as a normal do as I say not as I do guru, because he mentions his business and advocates that readers start their own, but it isn't the sort of life-changing reading that is or was. Learning this now. My first business was time-independent solopreneur stuff. Paid the bills. Now I want to scale a new business and am quickly hitting the barrier of time. Not enough time. I'm nervous to take the plunge of paying someone a salary, but it's something I'm thinking about now. This was a big takeaway for me too. After that part of the book, I told my sister, my customer service person, to never email me with a customer question, unless it costs more than $50 to solve their problem, or they have gone nuclear and have potential to deface and end my business. She went from asking me about multiple customers a week, to like 10 total in the last year. I only check my email once, maybe twice a day. Yes. While I don't have the plan mapped out 100%, I really liked this as well, and it's always in my mind. I make choices that are aligned with the goal of an eventual exit event. You can use martial arts to compare both books. 4-hour workweek equals Taekwondo, Fastlane equals Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Both martial arts bring something to the table. One provides fitness, confidence, looks flashy and improves flexibility. The other shows you how to can fight. An acquaintance at a party strongly recommended the 4-hour week to everyone. I was skeptical, but I still bought it on. Then, maybe an hour later, I was calling customer service to ask for my money back. I did get the money, but not the 1 hour that I wasted listening to it. I've heard of 4HWW but never bothered to read it. There are tons of books out there. But, you really only honestly need to read a few good ones. Between MJ's books, and a couple others I have read, plus posts on this forum, is all I really need. Tim Ferriss's only real product is Tim Ferriss. His advice on doing the least to get the most, is tangential to TMFL's advice of serve the most to get the most. To improve a product, Tim would tell you to do it cheaper, while MJ would tell you to add value. Ranty have absolutely no respect for Tim Ferriss. Not because of the 4HWW but because of the 4-hour body. Hence I can't read something from an author who claims this in another book. How can you take somebody like that serious? I gained 150 pounds on muscles in 2 days without food and in 8 minutes of total gym time. What's your excuse? I agree, I enjoyed reading 4HW. I think there's some good ideas in there, but this 4 hours body book sounds like a lot of BS. People underestimate what it takes to gain even 1 pound of muscle. If someone believes that book, I advise him to go buy 34 pounds of lean ground beef and stick it to his body to see the difference. 4 hours of work week. Yeah, right. That is only possible after you are a Fastlane millionaire. A friend of mine was talking about that book not too long ago. He said, why not let other people work on things so you can have more time? And while he is saying that he makes just enough money with his business to get by, he has 30 employees doing everything for him, but in the end he does not make any money and his business does not grow. But he does have free time. It is like being unemployed and broke. Nothing special there. Everybody can do that. Meanwhile I work 50 hours a week and make 30 times more than him. While he will be nowhere in 5 years, I will have $1 million to invest and only then work 4 hours a week. After I sold the company for big bucks. The road is logical, yet people seem to like dreaming things that seem easy. It is just action faking and your mind screwing with you. I'm actually astounded by the hash of people who claim FHWW is their favorite book, as if they're recommending some piece of literature that no one knows about. But it is proof that people will always gravitate to least effort, most results type of trope. The truth is, people want to get rich in maximum comfort and with minimal effort, and what better title than T4HWW? When it comes to books in self-development or business, Think and Grow Rich used to be the default recommendation. Then Rich Dad. And now it's FHWW. So it is an esteemed company. Oddly, a book I always recommend isn't even in print any longer and is nearly impossible to find. The best books typically don't get to the mainstream consciousness. If they do, it's usually a combination of marketing and network effects through the influencer's reach. Then the bandwagon effect takes over. Again, I couldn't get through 4HWW and quit after a few chapters. That's not to impugn Tim's body of work, which is of a freakish nature and downright impressive, especially if creating a personal brand is your thing. However, at this point, the book feels too much a part of the in crowd. The guru will scratch your back if you scratch mine. Circle jerk. And I don't trust that. Circle. Gallery equals media. 97 recommends by posted December 8, 2017 at 9:55 a.m. Org Gallery. I am dying to know. Think and Grow Rich is a brutal read. I gave it a shot, and maybe it has something to do with it being written so long ago, but it was so hard to follow and it doesn't provide any actionable advice. If I had to rewrite the whole book in one sentence, it would be, visualize success and work hard and you will achieve it. I do have one question that I am curious as to how people tackle, mostly people who work a day job and grind at night as I am trying to do. By the time I get home at night I have 2 to 3 hours to put my head down and work, or read. I've been having a hard time finishing books in a reasonable amount of time because I am more focused on working on my sites. So I end up reading a night or maybe 2 a week and am moving at a slower pace with reading than I want to be. You shouldn't be reading any books unless it helps you tackle the problem in front of you. That's a great way to put it. I'm a big believer in operating on what I call a lean information diet. If I don't need to know something to get my job done well, then I don't want to know it. Albeit, most of the reading I do is on forums such as this and on blogs about SEO, internet marketing, etc. But I do also find value in some of the self-help books I read. Likewise. Care to share? Actually looks like a new edition. The first time I read it was 25 plus years ago. Not to be a fuddy-duddy here, but did anyone actually read these books? The 4-Hour Workweek was not about working 4 hours per week. It's silly to take its title and say that's the whole book. It was about maximizing per hour work capacity, getting more done in an hour with tools like automation, delegation, and elimination. The goal was not to work 4 hours per week but was to eliminate work for work's sake and learning to redistribute the enjoyment of life, i.e. retirement, over the course of it instead of waiting until the end. Think and Grow Rich was not only about visualizing success. It was the culmination of interviews with some of the wealthiest people in American history. How did they become so successful? It dealt with the basics of goal setting and visualization, sure. But there were so many valuable concepts within that book. To boil it down to these, what the assholes who created The Secret says it is ludicrous. But before anything, why is anyone comparing 4-Hour Workweek to Fastlane? Apples to oranges? 2 different books about completely different subjects? Come on guys, everyone on here is brighter than this. I can't believe I'm saying this, but stop judging a book by its cover. I'm curious to see how many of you actually read MJ's book. What do you think it's about? Come on Steve, strawman argument. I bought it, read multiple chapters and scanned the later ones as well, and then stopped reading it when I had enough. If I judged by cover or title, I would have never have picked it up to being with. If someone reads several chapters of TMF and they toss it, they tried. I tried. No harm done. They gave me an opportunity to speak into their world and rejected it. I did the same for 4HWW. Sounds like the detractors here actually did read 4HWW, or started to read it and couldn't finish. So this goes beyond judging by a cover and or a title. I'm of the opinion if I want to debate something I actually take the time to learn the other side, but maybe I'm alone here. I still think 4HWW was an incredible read and deserves a spot right up there with Fastlane and Rich Dad, even though he's a douche. +1 on 4 helped me automate parts of my business. You know, maybe it's just me, but I have bought quite a few self-help books and I start to read them and many of them remind me of a MLM meeting. A lot of rah but little meat. I get bored quickly if it doesn't help me to apply some form of application in developing into a better entrepreneur or individual. Maybe it's just me, and where I am at in my journey, but most of these books have only 1 or 2, at most mediocre points to deliver, and the rest of the book is filler. So my dilemma is, do I waste my precious time reading through all of the filler to gain 1 or 2 possibly valuable points? I'm beginning to think not. I have nearly discontinued reading altogether as it seems most are too generalized for me to waste the time to pick the gems from the dross. I do listen to Audible books as I'm working out only because I am able to learn as I burn, so to speak, but taking the time to sit down and read, it just seems mathematically regarding time to not be beneficial because there just isn't enough to apply within the pages, at least for me. Perhaps if I needed a kick in the butt to start something, you may be, but how about when one is already down the road and looking for that process to develop better in their endeavors? I have found very few books that I have a kinship to rereading for the information found therein. I utilize the core of TMF nearly daily in my evaluation of my time and efforts, and I'm not saying this to Lord MJ, but it did help me immensely. Another book that helped me exponentially for the time involved in reading it was E-Myth Revisited by Mikhail Gerber. These are nuts and bolts books for the entrepreneur in the trenches. Perhaps good to great, but I still haven't finished the hard copy yet. Where are all the self-help books that are applicable to our journey? Not something that feels good but is forgotten 10 days after reading? Give me application that can stay with me and continue in my endeavors, that is all I want. I never read at home during the week, only sometimes on Sundays afternoon. But I take the train every day to get to my day job, so I have plenty of time to read. I wish Fastlane was around when I bought 4HWW, but checking the publish date, it was years later. Ferris got me thinking about executing on a plan, but it wasn't as thorough as either of DeMarco's books. Most of the tactics and references in 4HWW are pretty outdated now, and it's clear that he is way more willing to promote himself than MJ, and that can rub people the wrong way. His writing has gotten better though, and he is still the guy you think about when you talk about lifestyle design, life hacking, etc. He is one of those guys that is good to see how he works, versus what he says. It's clear that he has high discipline and fanatical attention to detail, logs every workout, blood tests weekly, etc. And a way of breaking down and solving problems outside of the box that all lends itself well to entrepreneurship. I couldn't believe how many people treat the 4HWW like gospel. It sucks ass except for 1 or 2 sections. Meanwhile TMF is gold all the way through. One person at the co-working space I spent a lot of time at, that is probably in the top 3 of STH East Asia for Western digital nomads, bothered to read TMF when I told them about it. And he thought 4HWW was better because it gives a step-by-step blueprint on how to start and run a business remotely. Lol, he has an Amazon business. Everyone was raving about it being the book that inspired them and helped them make money, except for a small handful. The main protagonist of the argument saying Tim Ferriss is shit, was the co-space owner. Guess which side in the argument was worth millions and which wasn't. Lol. But they couldn't see that. Brilliant marketing by Tim anyway. Ps he lost most cred with me when I heard how he won his Muay Thai tournament or whatever it was, by basically cheating via a loophole that allowed him to push people out of the ring. Lame. I've read 4HWW maybe 5 times or so. And I find it's extremely valuable. Of course, It did not make me a millionaire or have the ability to work for 4 hours per week. No book can do that. 4HWW is about efficiency, not working less. The title itself was just a marketing trick, not a promise or book description. Tim talked about this in one of his videos. Before embarking on my entrepreneurship journey, I was a web developer, and many ideas from 4HWW really helped me. On my last job, I was making more money than ever, while working fewer hours than ever. Tim Ferriss is all about fast learning and efficiency, which are crucial skills for me as a programmer. The 4HWW was my favorite book up until I read, which I found accidentally in suggestions on Amazon Kindle. Now the is my favorite book, and I'm on my second reading right now while implementing its ideas in my small software-related business. These books are for different people. Not everyone will hustle and work long hours. Not everyone ready to pay the price of huge success. I'm not even sure that I am ready for that. But everybody can increase efficiency in any activity he's doing. Recently, I bought 2 more copies of and 4HWW as gifts for 2 of my best friends, for the friend that shows more potential for hard work, while 4HWW for the friend that's stuck in the mediocre existence and need new options in life. I even asked my mother, 53 years old, to read the 4HWW to become more efficient in her daily stuff, and I already see some improvements in her mindset and attitude. That's why I think both books are very good sources of new ideas and approaches, just for different kind of people. And I'm a bit sad that just because is so much better, people can't see any value in 4HWW. +1/4, like everything else. Take the good and discard the bad. I got on the 4HWW hating fanboy bus a while back, but after reading it again, it serves its regular rotation by the toilet along with my other favorite books. I've decided that it's a good book that I will hang on to and keep reading. I like Scott Adams. 2 people can see or read or hear the exact same thing, and get wildly different conclusions from it. Some people read a religious text and are inspired to serve their fellow men, others read the same and are inspired to kill their fellow men, and others never really read it but quote from or slander it because they think it makes them sound smart or they want to impress someone. I can see someone like MJ not enjoying 4HWW because he's already been there, done that, and he did it his way. It's not relevant to him. But it has been very relevant and valuable to me. I credit 4HWW with figuratively getting me out of first gear career-wise and opening my eyes to the possibilities that are out there. Do I dream of lounging on the beach in a hammock managing a business? Sure, who doesn't? But honestly, only an unrealistic moron would think that this book will literally make this a reality for them. Personal witness follows. I know a former USMC grunt who became an aircraft mechanic and FAA certified inspector. He found a copy of 4HWW somewhere, read just the part about outsourcing work, Googled freelancing, found Elance, then spent 6 months working with couple of freelancers to program an aircraft maintenance record management system and associated apps, which he sold for enough to pay off his house in Denver and his car. So is 4HWW the best thing ever? Should it be compared to what? No, and, sort of no. All are tools in your entrepreneurial toolbox, along with the other gems that we all discuss on these forums. Just be careful not to trash too harshly what could be a valuable resource to someone else, lest you deprive them of something they might learn or need. Read both. Had more of an emotional impact on me. It was written from a more pure place. It spoke to my core. I tried to read 2 books a week, one for pleasure, one for self-help. Probably end up reading a book a week. Get about 1 or 2 way through most self-help books and toss them. Most profound statements or ideas or common sense can be summed up in a few words. If you spend 60 minutes a day thinking or brainstorming, you'll come up with the same ideas as most books. I love Magnus Walker. Go with your gut. Just my 2 cents. This is what I think is great about Tim and the 4HWW. It's about exposing people to options that they didn't know existed. It's easy for us to forget that the default state of mind for the vast majority of the planet is that it's impossible for them to start and succeed at their own business. Short himself promotes and is a pretty bad writer, but the message still has impact and value for a lot of people. I think people also overlook some of the tactics that the book gave mass exposure to, like split testing and market testing. Pretty common knowledge to us now, here on this forum, but to random, normal people 10 years ago, the idea that you could spend a few bucks to toss up an ad on Google or Facebook to validate your product idea without even having a prototype? Practically magic, and it turned the light on for a lot of people. Take what is best in both. You can get gems of good information when you read different books. Challenge is to shift through the info and get what works best for your circumstances and philosophy. I think this is a perfect example of how the 4-hour workweek can work to create passive income. I read both. I didn't finish the 4HWW, but it had a lot of great pieces of advice and resources. This book isn't about working 4 hours and succeed. Many people already said that here. It isn't either about a blueprint to reach wealth. If you want to attain that goal, read the MFL, just something to help you finance your lifestyle and be able to telecommute. Yes. It's true that Tim Ferriss is a cult leader. He wants you to join the new rich. There are also things completely BS that don't work unless you're Tim Ferriss, like improve your reading speed by 200% and be in the top 1% of world's best readers. Sorry, you have to have incredible photographic memory for that, but he really gives great resources for outsourcing, manufacturing your products, outsourcing your customer service, etc. It's really good. I just finished reading the MFS and it gave me the fire to travel my own Fastlane. Thanks to Mr. DeMarco for that. If you want to just improve your lifestyle, read the 4HWW. If you want to become filthy rich, read the MFS. Read both. I do think 4HWW panders to a crowd that craves the system. These are the type of PP who are more likely to love MLM, franchises, get-rich scheme, etc. They want you to give them the whole shebang so you can get passive income quickly. It sells these people a dream, and Tim is a relentlessly good marketer. The book itself gives you loads of ideas on time optimization, etc. I do still use some of the tactics today. Batching email reading, optimizing working from home, etc. MLF gives you a large dose of reality. You want a get-rich-quick scheme? Here it is, help 1 million people. It made me relook at my life and business. Plus it introduced me to this awesome forum. Read both. Not a fan of 4HWW or Tim Ferriss. I had to put 4HWW down when he started talking about pretending to be an expert in order to sell books. He's literally telling you that you're funding his pretend to be an expert strategy. It's his go-to. Pretend to be an expert, write a book, slap 4-hour insert subject on the cover and collect the money. It just comes across as, well, bullshit.